Do you think that lawyers who think they won't be replaced are naive?
The budget was you can hire the trainee or you can buy this really good AI tool. And they went with the tool. So that's a really good lawyer that doesn't get a job on qualification. But it's kind of feels like it's the harsh reality that we're facing into.
For all the skills that I've seen as you get more junior in the firm, can those be replaced by AI? And I think the answer is yes.
Will they miss a certain level of experience when they start? I think probably the answer to that is yes.
The train has come into the station, it's here for 30 seconds, and you have the choice either to get on the train or to be left behind.
Put your head in the sand, you will get found out.
The onus is back on the trainee now to become even more valuable, as if it wasn't already hard enough.
It's time as well to come with a portfolio, to show your ideas, to show your thinking.
In this episode, I'm talking with Peter Boyce, one of the legal deputy directors in the civil service and AI lead for his agency. I'm also talking with Amy Cronin, senior director of legal at Skyscanner. Do you think that lawyers who think that they won't be replaced in the future potentially are naive?
I was speaking with a lawyer, a partner in a private practice firm recently. We were talking on this topic on a panel about AI. And what she said was that she had a trainee, a really, really, really good trainee. And they're a small firm and they were coming to qualification. And the budget was you can hire the trainee or you can buy this really good AI tool that will do her job and multiple other people's jobs. And they went with the tool. So that's a really good lawyer that doesn't get a job on qualification, which feels really sad to me, but it's kind of feels like it's the harsh reality that we're facing into. I think recruiting is going to look really different, what our teams look like. There's not going to be this constant, okay, I have a need, I'm going to hire a new person. I think it's going to be, I have a need. First of all, justify that it can't be done via tooling. And as we talked about, the lawyers coming through the system, the junior lawyers are going to look very different. I think we're going to be hiring for that more technical skill set, kind of prompt engineers, legal engineers, rather than trainee solicitors.
There's also a responsibility angle here on the legal profession to make sure that actually kind of the sustainability of the legal profession, those tasks which we might just write off as automation, sort of the disclosure, some of the early prep work in a litigation case, those are the things that we learnt as paralegals, as trainees. So kind of where's that skill set going to be in the future? And obviously kind of there's lots of great things that lawyers will always add, the grounds of critical thinking, the soft skills, the strategy, the advocacy, unless there's going to be robots in some of the courtrooms. There are those aspects, but actually there's so much of the strategy is built in those early stages, the things which you kind of really get very used to doing, and you realize actually you're building a lot of skills, a lot of experience through doing that. So that's the kind of bit of a question mark for me in the future, as to kind of if those tasks are automated, is that going to lead to a bit of a gap in a few years, particularly if those skills aren't being taught or learnt on the job anymore.
I think I do agree with Peter. It's the critical thinking, I think, is going to become a key skill in the age of AI. And I think if you are missing out on those core early tasks, there's a potential of not understanding kind of how you're analyzing the outputs. There's something fundamental missing there. I mean, presumably they'll invent some AI that will do that task, but I feel like that there is a core skill set of kind of going through the ranks at junior level of work. That is the high volume work, that is the boring work. But if somebody isn't doing that, where are they learning those skills? And I think that is quite concerning for the profession, actually. There will be fewer of those jobs. I think there will be fewer trainee jobs potentially, or fewer paralegal jobs, and then there will be that skills gap later on in the kind of mid profession potentially. I think I would broadly agree. I think there is not going to be an option to be kind of a technology adopted lawyer. I mean, it's going to be it'll be a basic of the job that you'll be familiar with these tools and that you'll be able to operate them.
I still think actually kind of replace, where we're talking about replacing, I think that supporting at the moment is where I hope that it ends up, as in it can be your super assistant. So it might be actually, those trainees that you had, those really good paralegals, even the junior lawyers that you had, those AI can really kind of be that assistant if you get on board with where the future is going. I think if you completely put your head in the sand and go, look, this is just not going to change anything that I do, I think you will get found out. I think you will need to skill up, have a different mindset, and be prepared for the change that's coming.
They'll replace the boring work, and there might be a few, paralegal jobs that don't exist anymore, some trainee jobs that don't exist, but I don't think it's going to get rid of the entire legal profession. or they can come back to me in 10 years and see if that's still.
Each week, I take what I'm hearing in conversations with legal leaders, I analyse the market and track emerging trends in this AI era. In my newsletter called The Future Lawyer, Market Intel for the AI Era, I'm focused on what AI is exposing, the opportunities, the blind spots, and the shifts shaping the next 5 years. This is how you see the chessboard before everyone else does. In this episode, I'm talking with Alexander Cardoz-Nieheim. He was the founder and CEO of SafeSign Technologies, which was acquired by Thomson Reuters. He's now the co-lead of AI research at Thomson Reuters, and he also sits as the senior director in Thomson Reuters Labs. I spoke to the director of legal at Skyscanner, and she told me that she was speaking to another lawyer who said that at a law firm, they were deciding between hiring a trainee or using AI or investing in AI. And they actually went with the AI. But the trainee, she said the trainee, it was like it wasn't like a generic thing like, oh, should we hire a trainee or should we use AI? They actually had a specific trainee in mind who had gone through an interview process who was actually great for the job. But they were like, no, we're going to use it. We're going to go with the AI instead.
So then the next question becomes, for everyone else below them in that pyramid, for all the skills that are seen as you get more junior in the firm, can those be replaced by AI? And I think the answer is yes. The sheer power of these large language models, in particular the reasoning models that are coming out, they have so much power that even without much legal training, they are naturally very good at law. They're very good at legal reasoning. They're very good at reaching conclusions with a robust line of statements that lead to that conclusion. And therefore, it's going to become, I've spoken to several partners at major firms who've said that they prefer to use an AI model to generate the first draft of their memo rather than an associate that would take 5 days to do it and maybe would do a slightly better job, but not that much better. So there's going to be a relationship of replacement at the more junior end of firms. We're already seeing this.
What do trainees do then? What do you think about that? Like, how do they become competitive? How do they get into the legal industry if it's becoming more competitive than ever? What do they do? What would you do?
I think we're going to start to see smaller cohorts of trainees being let in, and we're going to start to see a higher barrier to entry and qualification from the trainee stage to the associate stage. And frankly, lawyers will just need to be even better. The standards will need to be even higher, because if you are a lawyer and you need to be able to compete and grapple with an AI model that is already so good, you're going to have to be an even better lawyer. So there will be fewer lawyers, but I think there are some things when it comes to reputation and relationships, and of course the need to train these juniors to eventually become the partners, that mean that I don't think we're going to see these big firms replacing all their lawyers or even very large amounts of their lawyers with AI models in the near future. How do you become a sort of a competitive must-retain trainee? You must not just be good at the law. You need to show your firm that you are going to be part of the generation that transforms it and keeps it alive and successful in the AI era. So if you're lucky enough to have a computer science background, great, absolutely maximize that. But if you don't, I think you need to be upskilling yourself on AI, not just on understanding what an LLM is or on prompt engineering, but on really thinking about how does the work you do within your seat as a trainee, are there opportunities for automation already? I suspect that I have many friends who are now associates in firms who see some heavy manual process, and because they happen to know a bit about AI, they've been proposing solutions within the firm and they've been creating efficiencies there. So if you can create, I think there's never been a greater opportunity as a trainee to create significant value for your firm by spotting an inefficiency and upskilling yourself on how you might help to solve that with AI, or working with the innovation team within your firm to try to solve that. So there's an opportunity within all of this chaos for trainees to actually add a lot of value, more so than maybe they would have ever managed to add previously. The lawyers of the future are going to have to be sort of half lawyers, half AI, if not engineers, then experts. And this is something that I've struggled with. I don't have a computer science background, but I founded an AI research company. And the reason I was able to do that was I surrounded myself with very clever people who were in AI. And I really tried to bridge the gap between the pure science and the pure legal challenges. And so many of those bridges have not been built yet. So many of the connections have not been made. So if as a trainee or as an applicant, you're able to demonstrate that you have that versatility in your mind and that enough knowledge of both the law and AI that you can be one of those people that makes those connections, then I think you're going to be very successful as a lawyer. But the onus is back on the trainee now to become even more valuable, to put in even more work, as if it wasn't already hard enough.
I think probably a lot of people, well, this is what I would be thinking anyway if I was about to become a trainee or whatever. It would be, how unfair. I don't like AI. I like law. I don't want to have to combine two things. I just want to focus on law because I enjoy understanding legislation and cases and these things. I don't want to know about technology. But I feel like now people just don't really have much of a choice.
It's like that the train has come into the station and it's here for 30 seconds and you have the choice either to get on the train or to be left behind at the station. And you just have to pick. It sounds really tough, but we are at one of those periods in history where we have to make these decisions. Do we try to resist an inevitable fundamental change to our society and how we do things? Or do we go with it and just try our best to redirect it and keep it human and keep it beneficial and try to be involved in the next stage of things? It depends on your personality. It depends on on your risk appetite and all the rest. But I have a fair amount of hope, though, that these new cohorts of trainees who've now had maybe ChatGPT already involved in their legal education, they have some mental versatility already built in that will equip them well to deal with these challenges.
In this conversation, I'm speaking with David Mazur, Vice President, General Counsel and Compliance Officer for Research and Development at Nestle. This one was an absolutely fascinating and really forward-thinking conversation. I think many legal leaders and also juniors and graduates and lawyers across the board will find this very, very valuable. I kind of think back to, what about juniors? And this is a debate that a lot of people are having, the role of the junior lawyer, even graduates. AI is really helping the senior people and experienced people do their jobs better. But how do juniors learn? What do you think of the role of the junior lawyer coming up from law school will look like in the future?
I think, like you say, this is a question that's debated everywhere, and there's some concern as well about a gap, in especially in entry level jobs. If I may make here a small, also personal analogy. So my oldest daughter, started university this year, so this academic year. She didn't decide to go for law. She went for design and engineering. But of course, I see a little bit what she's doing, and it's really fascinating to see how her university is integrating AI already in their way of working, the way of learning, and already giving them this elevating experience from early on to learn how to use AI tools effectively and be ultimately a better engineer than an engineer without AI tools. And I think if I make so actually I'm an optimist. So by nature, I'm really I see really for her that she will have a great job opportunities because she's already learning kind of the integrating these new ways of working from the beginning. And I think in law it's probably the same. I think sometimes as the legal community is a bit more conservative than the design and engineering community. But I think if we tackle that all end to end, so that it starts already with at the education stage at the university to understand what the value is of AI, how it can help juniors actually already be very effective with AI tools when they start. It might be that simply that the definition of what a junior position changes, because they will already have some skills that maybe our generation didn't have when we were juniors. And yeah, I think there's also this debate linked to that. So will they miss a certain level of experience when they start? And I think probably the answer to that is yes. There will be less experience in certain areas, but that experience will be ultimately also offered with the AI tools that they're using, and they will simply experience might be defined a bit differently. It will not be experienced through having worked on paper cases. I'm exaggerating now, but a night long. It will be experiences through leveraging modern tools to get that learning.
I do definitely agree with you, but I have also seen kind of firsthand a lot of people who have graduated and are looking for jobs are really struggling now to find jobs, which is interesting because I guess a lot of companies, in just generally, not just law, are replacing those entry level jobs, like you say, with AI, or other people are able to do that job by using AI and doing their own job as well. And I think we are seeing probably an increase in unemployment, maybe for the younger people who have graduated. What do you think about that? How do you kind of bridge that gap between those who have zero experience but are finding it very hard to get indoors to get that experience in order to, progress?
There is really a need, and actually many companies express that need of bringing in an innovative mindset on board among their lawyers, and an AI first mindset. So I think my strong encouragement with that, and I have a lot of empathy for those of you who are listening and seeing this podcast, if you're right now struggling in the job market, see how you can really position that as a unique advantage that you bring, because many companies are trying to bring that talent on board. They may be struggling with having actually the lawyers which are in place today embracing AI. And actually the young associates that come on board, they can actually bring a new breath of fresh air by bringing that excitement, that enthusiasm, and that AI first mindset. So please see it as an asset as well.
I actually do think that if I was in that position, what I would be doing would be learning AI as much as possible. And like you say, positioning it to when I'm doing applications, saying, well, I've seen this gap and you can automate your processes better doing this, and bring value to a company when you're applying for a job.
Exactly.
Not just saying, oh, can I have a job?
I like how you said it. It's about showing that you're bringing already something new and unique to the table. And I think many recruiters as well today are maybe not ready, in this AI first world, and already bringing to them some concrete examples. Hey, here's what I've done. Here's what I've learned to do. Here's what I can bring to your company, actually, in terms of new ways of working with AI in the legal profession. And that opens, like you say, a totally different conversation.
In fact, this conversation has made me think, actually, the recruitment process and the way that people apply for jobs might well be different in the past. Not here's my CV and my cover letter, but actually more like a business minded. Like, oh, I see that you could be doing this better, or I can bring this value to help your team do X, Y, and Z. And it's more of like a business proposal as opposed to a job application.
Like you say, also for the legal profession, maybe it's time as well to come with a portfolio, to show your ideas, to show your thinking. One, it makes it much more engaging for the recruiter. It makes it much more engaging as well for the prospective employer, because you're saying, here's somebody entrepreneurial, creative, doing something new. And so I think it brings ultimately, like you say, an opportunity to show already a bit of a business case. Here's why I'm the right candidate for this job.
Definitely. I love that example of the design portfolio. I think you're right. It's the best way to showcase yourself now. And I think that junior lawyers need to take on more of a commercial role within a business, as opposed to kind of doing admin tasks that they did before because of AI.
What I find fascinating with AI, or general, let's say, digital technologies, but with AI even more, is how democratic it is, in a sense that, and of course, we should be, of course, grateful that we have access to technologies, and certain parts of the world have less access. So I'm not arguing that. But if in most companies these days and law firms, people have access to the right technologies if they want to. And I think what is so democratic about it is that you can start doing it immediately, like it's almost instantly. If you have already some AI tools available, maybe you need to convince your IT department to acquire some licenses, and you can come up with some new idea and make it happen almost immediately. You don't need to ask permission of anyone. You don't need to ask your manager. And I really love when I can see ideas come to life that I haven't even been involved in or haven't even seen, because it's just great to see that creativity.